Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle, quite confident in the Oklahoma Sooners ahead of week 1 of the 2025 college football season.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, for more college football and Oklahoma Sooners coverage. I'm John Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. On today's show, we're going to talk about Oklahoma's latest defensive line commitment. We're going to talk about what Ben Arbuckle had to say in the week 1 press conference, but we'll start with Brent Venables. Jay, what was the thing that stood out to you the most about what Brent Venables had to say?
A little controversial, but BV kind of talked about how he had to rip this bad boy to the studs when he first got here. Now, I'm gonna say this in the nicest way possible, but this is what he told us when he first came, and this is kind of how I tempered my expectations once he took the job. If you listen to him at that point, he walked in and he talked about legitimately like building a house. He had to come in, he looked around in everything. He saw that the foundation for the most part was solid, but everything else had to go. They ripped it, wall, all the sheetrock, everything's gone down to the studs, and they went in and rebuilt that house. You saw that in 22. It looked like that bad boy was not working the way it should. 23, you saw, okay, renovations were good. That was solid. But then they realized they needed to change some other stuff in some of the back rooms. They needed to clear some things out. When they did that clear out, unfortunately, that's what you get 2024. A lot of young rooms, thinner rooms that you had to wait to take time to settle. That brick did not settle the way they needed to. Young players did not play the way you wanted, especially offensive line. Then you started getting holes in your walls. That's where all those injuries came in. So there's a lot of stuff that happened in this house analogy that made me say, I see what you mean. Now, 2.2 GPA, of course, yeah, I mean, we're not playing school here. We're here to play football. So some people kind of balking at that, while at the same time, you want people that are responsible enough to handle the business that they're supposed to handle. Get your schooling done, get your schooling on the football field done, and then the execution follows. Well, as you saw that, again, I mentioned before, the foundation was there, John. And the foundation that was there was the defense. He had some rock solid sound foundational pieces in Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman and Ethan Downs. And they all produced more and more each year, but then they brought in more foundational pieces. And now we're playing more of our own players rather than we're playing those that are fully transferred. So, John, I saw it. I felt it. And Dari Noka said it kind of, BB didn't, but he did. Thanks, Lincoln Riley.
It was clear that the discipline on the team was dropping off year by year. Yeah. And if you want to look any closer to it, it's that 2019 recruiting class that had, Trajan Bridges, then that 2020 class with Mikey Henderson and Seth McGowan. Like, the discipline and responsibility of the team was slowly dwindling and fading away to where, okay, yes, you're not going to OU to play school, but at the same time, to have an average GPA of 2.2, that means a lot of dudes probably had 0 GPAs and were absolutely failing everything. Because that there were going to be some guys that carried 4s and 3s and things like that were going to have actually solid GPAs, but there were going to be a lot of dudes that didn't. And then the other part of that, where he said a lot of guys failed drug tests, a lot. Brent Venables said a lot. And I get it. Like, Lincoln Riley is long gone. It's done. It's over with. He's at USC, but he probably saw the writing on the wall, which is part of the reason that he left. He recruited his problems.
And BV pointed out that this is where we came from. This is where you're starting to see the build and the growth. And so I know a lot of people that are going to be in the comments and say, well, I don't think that Brent Venables that good of a coach. Hey, you are entitled to your opinion. That is fine, 100%. I'll vehemently disagree with you because back to the point I've made before numerous times on this show, my channel, other shows, and everything around Brent Venables. If the defense was trash this past season, I would want him fired because that's what you're here for. You're supposed to be a guy to show us gradual improvement in the defense. And guess what? We got that. Now you have arguably one of the top defensive lines in the country, not just SEC country, by a lot of people doing analytics. And John, would you have expected to say that about Oklahoma in the last 5 years? I sure wouldn't have. I would have said we've got some solid players, some good athletes, but we never was able to put it fully together with the right scheme. We're here now. And he is one of the best play callers that we've seen on the defensive side of the ball in the last 20 years. He's up there. So now we get to see this actually executed on, John. So again, if Brent Venables' defense was bad, I would have said I wanted him fired, but it wasn't. Now, this is the one thing that's intriguing. Brent Venables went in and talked about some players, and the one player he talked about that's listed as a starter is Cortland Guillory. We've talked about him. We've talked about some of the players in that secondary. This is the opportunity for this secondary to show us that we finally have improved in that room. Not to say it was bad, but it was kind of the weakness. The deep pass kicked our butt. Guys were missing on angles. Guys weren't fast enough to keep up with players. Sometimes they weren't tall enough. But if Cortland Guillory turns out what we are seeing and expecting, bro, we may actually, I think, bold prediction still here. This cornerback room is going to be the wide receiver room of 2023.
Let's just hope that the cornerback room doesn't turn into the wide receiver room of 2024.
We're talking about 23 now, John. I said 23. Don't you wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you wish that on me.
Back on a positive note. Yeah, to hear him continue to praise Cortland Guillory, and I touched on it in the live reaction show, just how it sounds like Cortland Guillory is just made up of the right stuff. You know, every good corner gets beat. It's going to happen when you're getting put on an island against good wide receivers. You're going to get beat from time to time. It's what you do after that. It's how you respond after that that makes you good to great. If you're one of the best, you can respond by, hey, you got me that time, but I'm going to get you next time. And you show up and you actually do what you say you're going to do. So I'm encouraged by the development and the progress of Cortland Guillory. The other one that was kind of a surprise is, on Monday night, Grayson Halton revealed that he's 100% healthy. Brent Venables called him a pass rushing demon when he was talking about guys that they developed. So that one was encouraging. And then to hear the head coach kind of rave about him, I don't know, it just got me more and more excited about Grayson Halton this year. Yeah,
we've been hoping G-Baby would turn into a quote-unquote demon on the defensive line, and it sounds like he is now, with him being 100%, and at least that's his words, so we'll take him for his words. But I think for me, John, the one thing that's gotten me the most excited about that is he's going to be there with David Stone, who we're hearing has shown a lot of improvement. Jaden Jackson, who we've heard is pretty darn good at his job, so he's going to be fine. And Dominic Williams, who's ready to really show out as their leader. That interior is going to be so much fun to see this season. And if that interior goes in there and wrecks shop the way we expect, the beauty of it is I think we can go 3 deep this year. We're going to be strong in that interior. And if we continue to stuff the run, John, we're going to be a problem for other teams. That's why I can't wait to see what it looks like this weekend. My expectations this weekend, we better get his goose egg.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good FCS team, relatively speaking. And Brent Venables was very complimentary of them, reminded everybody they were their top 10 team coming into the nation, or coming into the season, excuse me. They were a playoff team last year, won 10 games. But as we talked about on yesterday's show, they lost 40-0 to Iowa. You give up a 40 burger to the Iowa Hawkeyes, and you're primed to get scored on a little bit. Let's talk about what Ben Arbuckle had to say about the Oklahoma Sooners going into the 2025 season, coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. My wife and I, we've been trying to save money, and we found that fast food was really eating up a ton of our budget, and we've had to get a little bit more disciplined and cut back on some of that spending, and we were able to see that through the Monarch app. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege.
The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for the kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Me personally, I love how easy it is to get around on the FanDuel app, especially when I'm looking at my futures, trying to pick out my Heisman. I've already got my money on John Mateer. I don't know about you, but you should check it out. Plus, it makes it easy to get excited about each game. And this weekend, we've got some marquee ones from Clemson versus LSU, Texas versus Ohio State. Auburn Baylor is going to be an interesting one. So it's quick and easy to get energized in the college football games as well as on Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now or visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Well, thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go check out some of the bonus stuff we did on Tuesday. I did a live reaction show to the Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle's press conferences. My brain is tired.
Podcast that went
mouth
with
is
it,
tired. Yeah, the Brent Venables podcast. That would be great. Let me just
love it.
I mean, Brent Venables is basically a podcast every time you ask him a question. I also had a great interview with Bob Sturm of The Ticket in Dallas-Fort Worth, 96.7, 1310 The Ticket. If you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and you listen to sports radio, you know who Bob Sturm is. Had 30 minutes of great Oklahoma and SEC football talk. So go check out that episode, downloaded wherever you get your podcast. Jay, what stood out to you about what Ben Arbuckle had to say on Tuesday?
For the first time since the last regime, the OC is going to be on the sideline, which is interesting to me because his reasoning was really good. He says that he wants to look his players in the eye after the play. He wants to get right there next to them and be able to talk to them immediately and not wait for a phone call to happen. John Kuzieski as well as Joe John Finley will both be up at the booth while he's down there with the players, having those conversations. And I really love that. I love that he's going to be that heavily involved. He'll be able to see from the top and he'll have eyes at the top that he will be able to trust to help him to navigate things in that view. But at the same time, he'll be able to go and have those conversations immediately with John Mateer, with the running backs, with the offensive line, with everybody. He'll be able to talk to the coaches right there and try to figure out what's the next move. And so usually those coaches that are down there on the sidelines, we've seen a lot of success out of that. I mean, Lincoln Riley had good success from that. You've seen that with Steve Sarkisian over there at Texas. That's pretty successful. Lane Kiffin, he looked pretty solid when he was doing the same thing. Josh Heupel, when he was running the plays at Tennessee, there's a lot of success that can happen from there. Some guys like to be at the top, be able to really just see the full view, but he'll have, like I said, those additional eyes with Kuzieski up there with Joe John Finley. Pretty stoked to see that he's going to be down there. That to me was like, okay, I like your reasoning. You're taking control of this, and that is what we've needed coming into the season.
And I like what it does for a guy like Michael Hawkins Jr. as well, because if the offensive coordinator's up in the booth and he's calling down to the sideline, there's only one ear that gets to hear that conversation, and that's the starting quarterback. Your backup quarterback or your developmental quarterback doesn't get to be privy to those conversations that are happening in game. That's very valuable information for a guy like Michael Hawkins Jr. Well, now he gets to hear everything that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer talk about because he's going to be right there.
Yep.
Listening in on every bit of it. And so that's great for him as well. I like that. What did you think about what Ben Arbuckle had to say about Jaren Canik?
Canik went out there and did what he needed to do to get the job. Hardest worker. And to me, it's a testament of Canik in general. We knew that about him. That's the good thing, is that it's been reinforced and pointed out from everybody, because Canik came here to play a position that he never played before. And he tried to figure out, and he just couldn't get to that point. But still a freakish athlete, still does some cool stuff. I mean, heck, he got a touchdown. He got a touchdown last year on defense, picked up that fumble on the special teams, boom, took it to the house. So, but Canik, to me, was one player that I was just hoping we'd figure out something for him. And now he's starting at tight end. It looks like they have a place for him to play. And don't be surprised if that dude balls out in that game. Remember, he ran like a 10-3 in the 100 in high school. Dude's a blazer. He's still fast, and I think he still has that speed, even with the size, the additional bulk he's put on. I think he's put on at least 30 pounds since he's gotten here. Don't be surprised if Canik goes out there and looks like a beast, because he was a quarterback, running back. He was a lot of stuff in high school. And I think that moving him to tight end and he figured that out, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, he has the potential to be a big matchup problem for opposing linebackers, because there's not going to be a lot of linebackers that have the same kind of speed and athleticism that he has.
Nope.
So I'll be really excited to see him on the field in a full-time tight end role. He just said, Ben Arbuckle said that Jaren Canik just caught everything that came his way. Like, he made plays every time that he had an opportunity to make a play. So not only was he busting his tail on and off the field in the film room, but when the ball came his way, he made the play. And that goes a long way. Like, obviously you want a guy that's going to work hard off the field, and you want somebody that's going to make a play when they get the opportunity to make a play. I envision for him, and I'd really love to see him land at a place like San Francisco or Miami with a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDaniels, because what could they do with a guy that's his size, with his speed and athleticism in an offense? Like, he could be something really special. At wide receiver, I thought the conversation there was really interesting between Keontez Lewis, Ivan Carrion, and Elijah Thomas at that X spot. Ben Arbuckle was asked specifically about that, and he just said he loved the way that those guys just attacked fall camp, Keontez Lewis in particular.
Yeah, Keontez Lewis is one that's going to get a lot of opportunities, and I am so excited. I've talked about him heavily, y'all. He's been one player that I mentioned a lot that I believe has an opportunity to be really, really special on this roster. We know Zion Kearney coming back now that he's healthy gave him some props, but biggest thing here is going to be Keontez Lewis is going to go out there, and him with Burks, it's going to be so much fun to watch on the outside. Just be prepared. I think John Mateer is going to have him a lot of fun now that John Mateer has taken the opportunity to really spend time with these guys. And even Mateer talked about that in an interview recently. In the spring, he just got to know everybody, but going through the summer and now in fall camp, he feels like they've built a perfect bond to where they're going to go out there and cook. That's a huge deal to me.
And then at running back, they went on and explained more about why the running back depth chart looks the way it looks. And it just is because Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock were available and busted their tail and looked really, really good. Brent Venables said it's the best Javonte Barnes has looked since he's been a Sooner.
It is. And so he took advantage of the opportunity of getting all the snaps. I spent some time out. Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum is still down. So the good thing is that we have a senior running back who's run here for some years, and he's able to actually play and lead the way. In this game, this will be one he'll probably do similar to what he did against Maine. He ran for 200 yards against Maine last year. He may run for 200 yards again in this game. So he'll end up doing what I said Jaden I was gonna do. So we'll see how that turns out. But heck, Torrey Blaylock may end up being that dude. I don't know. Let's put it this way. One thing also that Ben Arbuckle mentioned is his excitement about watching the offensive line compete. Mm-hmm. Now, that has been a big question from everybody. The question is, who are the clear starters? And they don't have that fully yet, But the expectation is that will happen very soon because they actually have a lot of guys that they can play and feel comfortable playing. That to me is the one thing that's the testament of the recruiting and the scouting of the players that we have, is that we actually feel comfortable with, any of the 10 players that we know can play being on the field.
It's one of those good problems to have.
Yes.
They just want to see more.
Yep.
And we're going to get
we
to
had
see
it before.
more. Yeah. Anything else stand out to you from what Ben Arbuckle had to say when he spoke with the media?
No, I think really that offensive line one was one that really just made me feel a lot more comfortable. Because we know how tough Bill Bedenbaugh is just in general with that position, and he works those boys. But the fact that Arbuckle was excited about him, and the reason why we knew they are fine is that they actually saw success against this defense. The defense didn't take it lightly on them. They made them work for it. Last year, we didn't hear that. Last year, it was literally the defense just won nonstop. We didn't hear anything about the offense. And so now I'm comfortable. I'm a lot more comfortable in what's coming up than I was last year.
And we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out here on the Locked On Network. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the commitment of Teron Richardson to the Oklahoma Sooners and what it means for the Oklahoma Sooners.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts for your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House's next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The parts finding tool and 3D schematics can help you save hours on a job wherever details matter. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support makes the whole process run even smoother. So join free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com, sign up for free, and use the promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners picked up a big-time commitment from Teron Richardson of Virginia. He's a 3-star prospect in the 2026 recruiting cycle, now giving Oklahoma 3 interior defensive line players and 6 players for the defensive line overall in 2026.
Yeah, this one was a very interesting one because it picked up pretty late. I went through and looked at Teron's offer sheet or whatnot, and of course, he has a really good offer sheet overall. It's a bunch of schools that you would want a prospect to, have looks from, kind of like Tank Carrington. You had your big schools. He's got Penn State. He's got Auburn. He's got Georgia, Florida, the big ones, South Carolina. So you've got a lot of your bigger schools in that list. Penn State's, to me, pretty huge with Syracuse, as well as hometown schools of Virginia and Virginia Tech. So, John, he's gotten all the offers from the schools that you would hope he would get from. And then Ole Miss came in not too long ago. They gave him an offer a couple weeks ago. You're starting to see some other schools jump in late in the fray, but most of his offers came this year. So it feels like he was more of a late bloomer, hence why his ratings currently are today. But when On3 or Rivals, whichever one you want to call them, put out the actual graphic for him committing, they had him listed at 6'5", 290. So he may have hit a growth spurt. I'm sensing that's probably why Oklahoma really jumped on his board back in June when he came out. Jim Nagy mentioned this at one of the events that he did recently, that Oklahoma actually even said it to me as well, that Oklahoma did not do their own measurements back in the day when they had camps. So they do them now. When you come in for an official visit, they're going to get their official numbers from you right there on the spot. And that's what they're going to use when they do all of their evaluations. But John, there's one other feature about him that to me stood out more than anything, that said, oh, they're definitely going to look at him. He has a 6'11" wingspan. And that was when he was at like 6'2" and a half.
Wow.
6'11" wingspan. Like, boom. And that's been verified. I've asked a couple people, I'm like, hey, is this real? Is this a real number? And they're like, oh, no. Every camp he's been to in his younger ones, he's had a 6'11" wingspan at the 6-footish range. So if he's 6'5" and he's added some more wingspan to him, he could be a massive steal. And it's one of those gambles that Oklahoma can take right now.
And he looks like a guy that knows how to use his body and use his frame. When you watch his junior highlights, he's using his long arm, and offensive linemen just can't get a hold of him.
Nope.
He engages, he gets that long arm going, and he shoots the gap, and it's pretty much over because they don't have the arm length to be able to grasp onto him to slow down his pass rush. He's going to be a force, and he's one of those guys that, okay, yes, 3-star, you look at him now, but he's going to surpass that 3-star status. Remember, guys like Eli Bowen were considered 3 stars at one point in time. This is a good football player and someone who's going to be a factor at defensive tackle and has the frame to add another 20 to 30 pounds and will be able to carry that weight well and be an even more disruptive player.
Yeah, and if he's a legitimate 6'5", 295 pounds, he'll get here. They'll add 20 pounds. He'll be over 300. And actually, he may actually be over 300 by the time he ends his senior year. You get him here, get him to 320 at that 6'5" range, and he keeps his mobility. And he also does track and field.
He's super agile. Like, he is surprisingly agile.
He could be a terrifying person for the competition. And that's, to me, is what makes him a big pickup for the Sooners. Is you need more players like this. You're going to need more long, rangy interior guys. Most of the guys we have are 6'2", 6'3" anyway. The question has always been, what do the fine motor skills look like? Mm-hmm. And the good thing with T-Ron, the good thing with Tank Carrington, the good thing with Brian Harris, we don't need them to play next year immediately. We'll be 4 deep. We'll be 3 deep minimum, if not 4, going into next season when they come on. So that gives them 1 extra year to just get their bodies in the proper composition, because in 27 is when I anticipate them having an opportunity to truly get on the field. I also expect that in that 27 class, we'll probably land ourselves a 5-star defensive lineman that we expect to play as well. So keep your eyes open on that. But John, this is one of those risks you got to take. And truth be told, this is starting to line up to Nagy's theory. He mentioned that the price point of 5 stars can be expensive. The question is, are you going to pay them or pay your current production? We, of course, would rather pay guys that we've seen produce. All fans would like us to be fiscally responsible. Give me guys that have played in the SEC and give me their production. Well, you go get the 5 stars that you expect to play quickly. We got Jake Krell, right? This is something I've noticed, John. When I'm looking at Jake, I look at our edge room. There's a very good chance that there's going to be space in the 2 deep for another edge, which would be Jake. Jake comes in, he's probably going to play right behind either PJ or Okoye or Taylor Wine. It'll be him battling with Wyatt Gilmore for that backup number 2 spot. And I bet you Jake has a chance of playing. Yeah. That is the thing to keep in mind when you look at certain players. If we're super young, we're probably not going to go for it. But if we're older, yeah, probably going to.
Well, I think, again, it comes down to the traits that you see. Jake Krell's a super easy evaluation. You look at the guy and you're like, yes, he's got NFL pass rushing traits. He's somebody that can get after the quarterback. And that's going to be something that puts him in the potential of being a top 60 NFL draft pick one day, if he gets to Oklahoma and he produces. I look at a guy like T-Ron Richardson, and again, you can't teach that size and that frame. And I really, really like the way he plays football. He plays it physically, and he arrives at the point of attack and at the ball carrier with a lot of force. Like, he's not just kind of trying to bring you down. No, he's trying to tear you down. He wants to demolish and destroy you and hopefully get that ball out. He's just he's kind of a freak. And, another good comp that I think is relevant right now is Taylor Wine. Taylor Wine, coming out of Tennessee, was a 3-star prospect, didn't really come onto anybody's radar until like October or November of that recruiting cycle, and commits to Oklahoma really, really late in the cycle. And everybody's like, well, who's this kid? Why is he a priority all of a sudden? Like, what are they doing here? Well, the traits were noticeable. He kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and Oklahoma was able to end up getting a steal in that recruiting cycle. And we're about to see that pay off this year, just 2 years into his collegiate career. So I think this is a similar kind of a guy in that he's got the athleticism, he's got the agility, he's got the physicality, and he's got the frame, that he's somebody that you want to get into your program and develop them, because if he puts it all together, I mean, he could be a force in the middle by the time his time is done at Oklahoma.
Yeah, 18th. He's our 18th commitment, which is a pretty big deal. The class is starting to shape itself out, but don't think that Oklahoma's done. This season for us is going to be critical in getting people, that want to pick Oklahoma. I expect the Sooners to really try to flip some players. And I also expect Oklahoma to be very active for young players in the transfer portal. So as long as we produce on the field, the opportunity will be there for the Sooners, and they're going to take advantage of it.
Is there a spot you think that Oklahoma is specifically going to try to target, or is it just specific players here and there?
I think you'll see them do some big fish, some big game hunting in the wide receiver room and on the offensive line. I know our O-line is pretty young, and we really like the talent we have there. We've got a couple more years there with them. So I think probably the 27 class is where you're going to see some really big game hunting there. But I can totally see at wide receiver, we're probably going to go after some players just to make sure that, get at least one or two. Probably a running back. I think we may try to get one more, or someone that's super versatile, someone that could possibly play running back or wide receiver. You never know. There's maybe some players out there that can do that. And I think at linebacker is where we're probably going to really go ante up on. I think those are the 3 spots where Oklahoma's really going to shop. The question really is the depth at linebacker we have, who's going to end up coming back? Mm-hmm. Because technically Kip and Kobe can play one more year if they wanted to. And if that does happen, we're going to big game it in 27 like crazy.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Kip Lewis was left off of the Senior Bowl 300 list, which to me, I don't know how that's possible when Jim Nagy's your general manager, unless it's been pretty clearly indicated that he's going to come back for another year. That's just me speculating, reading some tea leaves, looking at the stars. But
he's a redshirt junior, so yeah.
I would love it if we got another year out of Kip. That'd be fantastic. And then 2 years out of Kobe, that'd be great. Like, give me all that. That'd be wonderful.
Sign me up.
I'll take 3. We'll take it all. Give me the extra supersized one. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go check out Jay's work at Unfair Sports. Go check out that channel, subscribe, and find out more about college football and more Oklahoma Sooners coverage over there. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.
It's almost football time in America.